My dad, bless him, never hung another strip of wallpaper in his life. I think that was enough for Dad. But he was quite a good joiner, and he made a lovely wheelbarrow for us to push each other around in, particularly my sister Irene. And she was frightened to go in, but she wanted to go in, and eventually her fear was broken by having to go in because the pram broke that she had. The wheel came off, and we had to. I had to push this pram to my granddad's, who would then put the wheel on. And I remember this silver cap that was holding the nut in, or something like that. You put the nut in, and then you screwed this other thing on to make it look attractive, really. And he did it for us, so she was very happy about that, and we were able to push the pram again. And we had to go up this day to the hospital for, obviously, for a checkup. I didn't know what it was at the time, but it was obviously a checkup. And the caliper on her leg had been rubbing a little bit, so she got a sore. And the caliper had to come off. But then Irene wasn't allowed to put her foot to the floor, which caused another big problem. And oh dear, and she screamed when it was hurting her, bless her. But soon cleared up, thank goodness, and back we were to square one. Still having now, every week, she had to go to the clinic. What they did, I don't know, but she had to go to the clinic and have something done to her leg. I guess now it might have been some kind of physiotherapy or something. But eventually the sore went and she was able to play a little bit again, but not like the rest of us. So we were hampered because we had to be held back from digging meat, making mud pies and things in the garden which she couldn't do. And one day my mum said, "We're going into Baldwin's." Well, we were so excited because Baldwin's was a lovely shop in Canterbury, and they sold pretty ribbons, hair ribbons and clips for your hair. And Irene had very pretty hair, very pretty hair. So we went off to Baldwin's, and it was like being in a fairy shop. It was wonderful. And all it made you do, though, was want some of the stuff that was in there, lovely dresses and things, which we knew we could never have. But we did have this pretty ribbon, and Irene had a little clip, and this little clip was a slide, and it had got a little cat on the top. She loved it, and this would be stuck about here in her head. She loved it, and she would fiddle with it all day, like, bless her. And that was wonderful. That was a wonderful time, really. And eventually, we had to go to a meeting one day at the clinic, and where we were told that Irene's leg, well, Mum was told, and Granny, and I was told afterwards, the caliper was able to be taken off for a little while every day. And Granny and Mum were shown how to put it back on. And it was just lovely. But I thought as a kid, when it was off, she'd be able to play again. But not so. She could have it off, but she had to be on the couch that we had then. So she lay on this couch, and I used to read to her for what seemed like hours, but it wasn't. And she loved the same story every time, and I got bored. And I said one day, "Can we have another story? Let's read one of my stories. I'm always reading your stories to you, and it was all about the princess and the cat. And I wanted to read a story that I'd found in school, and it was about three bears. Not the Three Bears fairy story, but about three bears. And this wasn't in a book, it was paper. And I remember it's paper, it was no pictures, just words. And I thought to myself, wonder why it's only paper. Maybe we couldn't afford a coloured book, a hardback book, I don't know. But then I found out that this story was written by one of the teachers in school. And it was a wonderful story, very adventurous. And Irene wasn't into this at all. She wanted the fairy stuff. I kept thinking, oh dear, I wish Ivan could read. I wish Ivan could read, but he couldn't, bless his heart. And I continued to read this story. Goodness knows how many times. This cat, this princess. Can't remember the title. And anyway, time went on, and came the holiday, as I said. We were going hop picking. Never did get hop picking that year, so there was no money, no extra money at all. So we didn't have the chocolate bars, which were called peg bars. And we were always, when it was hop picking time, the children had more sweets than they ever had, because while the parents were picking, and many dads did it too, the children were playing. Great fun, until you were told you had to go and pick hops, and it wasn't so fun, and your hands got black and dirty. And I remember the weight was called a bushel, and the plan was you had to pick into a smaller basket, sitting on the stool. When you filled the basket, you had to go up to the top, put them in a huge basket, and that had to be full by the end of your term. When the bell went, that's the time you finished. Now, many of the East Enders used to stay in huts. They didn't go back every day. We walked every day to and fro. But of course, I couldn't do it this year. We didn't do it. So we missed out, and it was just a time when I loved it. It was like being on holiday. Anyway, oh dear.